Now the moment we've all been waiting for.
I am Nate Riggle, and you are listening to The Way of the Bonfire. What's going on? We're already a week into November, and Thanksgiving is right around the corner. So I'm going to dive right in with a Thanksgiving-themed challenge. We think about what we are grateful for. The common phrase is, count your blessings. And I've only ever gotten a tiny bit of value or perspective from having a general sense of the incomprehensible volume of blessings that I have. And realistically, I don't want to just start counting them. So I can say 9,221, 9,222. Oh, I get it. It's more than I can possibly count. Cheeky, sneaky little challenge, right? The point is, it seems like a silly exercise to actually try to count them all. So the real challenge this week for you to try and report back on with a curious and open mind to yourself and others is list and describe at least 10 of your blessings, or whatever you want to call them, the things you're grateful for. More points for a longer list, but the challenge is 10. Just to keep it manageable and to entice you to at least want to give it a shot. And here's what I mean by list and describe them. It's exactly as simple and obvious as it sounds. But if you will follow your curiosity on this, it's surprising how perspective and just your general outlook expands as you start writing or typing. For example, here's one that I wrote. Number 1, breath. I always start with this one. It's what everything hinges on. If I can breathe, I have been granted more time. I have life, and that is a gift in and of itself. It's pretty impressive that my lungs can fill and empty themselves that many times without any major maintenance issues. It's incredible how breathing intentionally can bring me into a better state of consciousness. It's beautiful that the planet has oxygen at all, and that new oxygen is produced by plants in the oceans every day. It's amazing that none of us have to pay for oxygen. At least not yet. Or I guess if you're going to one of those oxygen bars, that's different. But we don't have to pay for air to breathe. I'm grateful that there are still lots of places I can simply exist and breathe in clean air without sucking in dangerous and deadly particulate matter. It's amazing how in the mountains I can actually taste the freshness of the air. As a teenager, I once choked on a piece of watermelon during a watermelon eating contest, and all I wanted to do in my life at that moment was breathe. I did not care about winning or being embarrassed or the mess I made as I forced myself to barf and spew it all over the place with a self-administered Heimlich maneuver. I did not care how disgusted the girls I so badly wanted to impress must have been. I once had superhuman strength when I was being suffocated in a jiu-jitsu gym in my early 30s by another man who didn't realize I could not tap or speak, but I also wasn't passing out. I was absolutely physically exhausted from the 30 minutes of intense grappling leading up to that moment, and he was stronger and more skillful than me by a long shot. I've been choked out before and been knocked out by it. And I've woken up to someone holding my feet in the air as I laid on my back to return circulation. But this was not a choke out, which is cutting the blood flow off as the submissions in jiu-jitsu are designed to do. This was suffocation. And it's a way more desperate feeling. Feels a lot like dying or something. It's probably what it is. My desire to breathe triggered an adrenaline response, and just for a moment, I had the strength of a freaking grizzly bear. And the other man was surprised that I could somehow overpower him and throw him off of me from such a disadvantaged position and state of fatigue. And so was I. It sounds made up, but some instinct just took over that I didn't actively send the message for my body to perform. I'm grateful for whatever automatic system that was. And I'm also wondering where it was hiding a few minutes earlier and what took it so long. My first breath felt like such a valuable and precious thing that I decided that night I would never take it for granted again. And I never have. Number 2, free will. Just kidding. I'm not going to share a dissertation on that because the point of this episode is just to issue and explain the challenge to you. So give it a shot and share your results with someone willing to listen to at least one of them. They're probably not going to want to stick around for all 10, especially if you go into that much detail. But it's more for you than it is for them. There's something about sharing what you wrote that is cool and helps you retain it and kind of hold on to it. And I think you'll be surprised with what comes out of that mind and heart of yours if you just do this. Also, watch how you feel afterwards and how it feels to interact with people the rest of your day. Stay curious, my friends, and go get them. Hey, thanks for listening to this episode of the podcast. Every single time I do this, I get a little more fired up and my bonfire grows a little bit more. If you're feeling the same way and like you got value out of this, would you do me a favor and go onto the show page in your Spotify or Apple Podcast or wherever you're listening to this and leave a rating and click follow. That way you never miss another episode of the show, and it helps me immensely to keep the momentum and keep bringing the good stuff for you. We'll see you on the next one. Thanks.